I wanted to just briefly welcome all of our registrants, our volunteers, and hopefully some of our articling clinicians from the Everyone Legal Clinic to this webinar. And a big thank you to Patricia and David from the People's Law School for taking time out of their busy day to present for us. They have a fabulous resource for clients, so it's great that you've joined us today. Before I hand it over to David and Patricia, I just quickly want to acknowledge that the Access Pro Bono office, as well as the People's Law School office, is located on the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, which of course include the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. We're very honored to be here today, to continue to be here, and we thank the stewards of the land for sharing their land with us. So David and Patricia, I will hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Erin, for this opportunity to speak to your lawyers and clinicians today. I'm Patricia Byrne. I'm a lawyer, and I've been Executive Director of People's Law since 2015. My practice experience is in corporate law, but I also have experience in professional development for lawyers. And since 2007, I've worked in the public legal education sector. And at People's, I work with a team of 6 other lawyers, one of whom is David Candiston. David, over to you to say a few words about yourself.
Thanks, Patricia. So I'm David Candiston. I've been working with People's Law School for about 4 years now. I'm currently a practicing lawyer in BC and also have a background in corporate law. At People's, I help with some content development, also with our marketing efforts and production of webinars. So multifaceted and many hats worn all at once. So I'll be the steward today of the webinar. I'll set a bit of the ground rules. We are going to do a little bit about us. Patricia will describe our organization, what we do. She'll have a little bit of a talk about public legal education and why it's important and where we're situated in that universe. And then I'll run through some specific scenarios on how we've helped the public with our resources, with the goal of showcasing all the stuff that we have, from our websites to our webinars to online document builders. You'll see all the stuff that we have, so you'll know what you can turn to if you have clients that might need those resources. I'll send it back to Patricia now. And what I'm going to do is share my screen. We have a short presentation prepared that Patricia's going to run through. And then she'll send it back over to me to walk through some of the scenarios. So Patricia.
Okay, at People's Law School, we are an award-winning team. For example, last night, just as of last night, we won the Vancouver User Experience Awards in the category of Best Content Experience. And you can't see it here, but it's our award. So we are so stupidly happy about this that, well, we're telling everybody. So anyway, this award is directly the result of our team. You see them there on the screen, working together to create a wonderful website resource for British Columbians. So first, we're a team of people, but second, we're also a nonprofit incorporated BC society. What do? We create information and resources for the general public about common legal issues that people may encounter in their daily lives. And we call these everyday legal problems. And in a few moments, we'll show you some examples of these problems and how we help folks avoid them or resolve them. We've been in business since 1972, and we're Canada's first PLEI, that stands for Public Legal Education and Information organization. And as a matter of fact, we are BC's only organization dedicated exclusively to PLEI. PLEI for British Columbians, that's all we do. So that means we focus on, number one, understanding the information needs of British Columbians, and number two, making sure that the information we provide is of high quality and relevance, and we put it in language that people will understand. In other words, no legalese. Now, the next slide will show you a snapshot of the growth in users of just one of our resources, our award-winning peopleslawschool.ca website. So that shows you the exponential growth that we've experienced in the past 5 years. And in last year alone, we had over 1 million uses of our combined resources, digital and print. So we're reaching a lot of British Columbians. And the next slide will show you why that's important. So we think that public legal education is an essential component of a just society. It promotes access to justice, it empowers individuals, and it fosters public understanding and trust in the legal system. And we think that by providing accurate and accessible legal information, PLEI can help prevent problems before they arise, and it can help equip people to take action, to resolve their matters, or to protect their rights, ideally before anything requiring litigation happens. So that's a theory. But now we're going to show you how we do this. And first off, we're going to introduce you to some actual, real, live people, not actors. These are people who use our resources and got value from them. So David, over to you.
It's important to know your rights. It's important to get as much information, learn as much as you possibly can. My name is Manoj Haley, and this is my wife.
Hi, my name is Putana Kumchalan.
And we have 3 beautiful kids.
5, 4, and 3. My dad passed away in Thailand. That's when I realized that Dad has left me a will.
We have never dealt with the law before. Will, executorship, probate. We felt alone, I guess, to figure out things for ourselves. What do we do? So that's when I went online. That's when we discovered People's Law School. It was exactly what we needed. What really hit home for us was the webinars. Just the interactive piece of it, meaning I can ask any questions through the chat. We have 3 kids, crazy household, we have a business. And again, there's a lot on our plates. We had a whole bunch of information that totally helped us. It's very personable, it's very flexible, you can access it at home. Now in our current situation, we're like, okay, we're at a good place where we feel comfortable that we can take the next step with more clarity, yes. It gave us way more confidence. I would definitely recommend the resources that are available, especially if you have no clue, no idea, I would say even confidence, like where do I begin? I would definitely start with People's Law School.
So dovetailing out of that video, scenario number 1, a close relative died and I'm the executor. How do I handle probate? So how would somebody get an answer to that question on our website? Even before we jump into an answer specifically, this is our website, peopleslawschool.ca. It has all of the information that we have categorized into different boxes. It has a great search feature, and it's just the repository of all of our stuff. So if you wanted to answer that first question, what folks could do is they can go to our wills and estates section, head over to dealing with an estate, and then there's a whole bunch of different page resources that people could read through to get an answer, or to just help them on the way and give them a roadmap for what to do. One of our more popular pages is this 10 steps to settling an estate, mainly because there are, not only so many things that you have to do, but so many forms that you have to fill out with the court registry to get something like this done. And our pages are mostly structured in the same way. We have an initial section on what you should know with accordions, where people can click in and click out to learn a little bit more about their rights or about how the law works. The main feature of this is that it's written in plain language. It's short, it's to the point. It doesn't tell you everything that you need to know, but it would tell somebody, with not too much experience in this domain of law or just experiencing it for the first time, at least where to start and how to get things done from the beginning. The second step we mostly have is steps involved, or how to take action. And we find it's very helpful to walk people through things step by step. And again, with the accordions, it's not this overwhelming blah stuff on the page. It gives you the steps and lets you open and close them as you see fit to make your lives a little bit easier. Finally, we have a section on who can help. So we'll have a bunch of different helpful agencies where you can link out to see their websites, ideas for free or low-cost legal help, and how you can find a lawyer or notary to help you push things even further. So that's a typical content page. Another one that we find helpful are guided pathways. And we do this one on the estate settling side because it is a question a lot of people have as to whether they even need to go through court So with this guided pathway, people will find out, do they need to make a court application or not? Because it can be a little bit tricky to understand, especially if you're dealing with it for the first time. So it's another way for people to get answers and feel like they're starting to take action and know where to turn to next without necessarily having to hire a lawyer right off the bat. All right, so that's the first scenario on a close relative dying. Second one, more of a consumer related question. I hired a contractor to redo my kitchen. They were slow, unresponsive, and didn't complete the job properly. Do I have to pay the final invoice? So we have pages on service providers, but oftentimes we find that the way people search for information on our site isn't necessarily through clicking through the menus. And it's not even necessarily by going to our site. They might just type their question into Google altogether. And that's why we're really jazzed about the search feature that we have up here in the corner. So contractor, do I have to pay? And it's a responsive search feature that pops up answers basically as you type. And we find it super helpful to get people to pages that they need. So here's an example of one of our Q&A pages. Now, these questions are generated from questions that we get directly from the public in our weekly Q&A service. So we have a service that's staffed by one of our rotating lawyers each week, where we answer questions from the public when they don't necessarily get a specific answer to what they're looking for on our website. It's a tricky line because we do just want to provide legal information and not legal advice. But we find it's a way to give a little bit extra help and push people in the right direction if they haven't found the stuff on our website. And so then what we do is we take the more popular themes or questions that we've gotten and we transform them into Q&A pages so that it's easier for people to just find this without necessarily having to reach out to us specifically. So this is a Q&A page. The question will be up here and the answer is down here. The answers are either from staff lawyers on our team, or we'll contract it out to a volunteer lawyer in the community to review something if we don't necessarily have that expertise. So you can know that the information is reliable. And it just gives people a little bit more of a specific answer if their question isn't a more general one, like the one we had previously about probate. So that is a Q&A page. Third scenario, a coworker is constantly overstepping boundaries at work. What can I do? So we have plenty of pages on rights at work and on work topics in general. They would speak specifically to this issue, like if your employer asks you to do something concerning. But I wanted to take this opportunity to show you our webinar. This is a great idea for take home, like homework that you could provide to a client if you can't necessarily give them all the information in a short call. All of the webinars that we've done over the past 2-3 years are archived here. So people don't need to see them live in order to be able to watch them. And people don't need a password in order to log in and see them. They're all here and they're streaming on demand. So you can start wherever you want, whenever you want. So we have one on workplace harassment in British Columbia. And these tend to be about an hour long. And they're hosted by a lawyer on our team, Paula Price, and we bring in experts from the legal community to talk about these issues. And the beauty of it is, people often don't want to watch the whole thing. So what we do is we pinpoint all the places at which certain things are talked about, which is super helpful. If you don't want to watch a 60-minute video, you know where to go directly, immediately. So that's all of our webinars, and they're right up here in the webinar tab. A fourth scenario. I got a ticket for answering a call on speaker in my car. Is this actually illegal? We've been getting this question quite a bit lately. And I don't know if anybody saw that, ICBC either put a tweet or a news release or something out that was wrong. It's not actually the way the law works. So there's a lot of confusion around this question. And so we have a specific question on distracted driving, and it features a video for those who like things that are a little bit more visually appealing. And it goes along the same lines of our previous page where talk about what you should know and steps for dealing with the problem. For example, if you want to get out of the ticket, what should you do and how you can dispute it? And also some common questions. These are two folks that, in addition to the ones that we saw earlier in the video, that we helped directly and who reached out to us when we were putting together our annual report last year. They just give you a little bit more of a flavor of how People's Law School can be helpful. So here, this is Arena from Vancouver, looking for solutions for my divorce case. I Googled my problem. With Google, it's a lot of information. You don't know what's good, but many of the links led to People's Law School, which is so smart and convenient with information written by lawyers. And I knew it was up to date. There were big changes recently to divorce law, and People's Law School knew all about them and explained them well. And this is really a testament to a lot of the SEO work that we've done over the last 3-4 years, optimizing all of our content so that it's very searchable on Google. We're excited when people go to our website directly and search from there. But even if you search for things specifically in Google, there's a lot of stuff where People's Law School will pop up on the first page or even in the first few hits, which shows that our content is not only popular and being indexed by Google, but also reliable and something that people can turn to. Another testimonial came from Andrew. I just retired and sold my house in Manitoba. I was downsizing to be closer to my growing family, but I hadn't rented a place in a long time and knew nothing about BC laws for tenants and landlords. People's Law School had a tenant playbook on their website that helped me out a bunch. It gave me more confidence in dealing with my landlord. That was another testimonial that we got from last year. And just quickly to show you this tenant's playbook. I mean, Track has wonderful resources when it comes to landlord and tenancy law. But this one has grown in popularity incredibly on our site in the last couple of years since we put it up. And it's because it's big on FAQs. And we get a lot of questions from the public that are just direct questions about, what can I do about my lease in this specific situation? Can I assign it? Can I sublet it? Can I let friends or family members stay? So a lot of our pages are structured like that, is there's just a ton of questions that we get and we put them in there. So it's super easy for people to find them. All right, I'm just going to run through a couple more scenarios just to give you a bit more of a flavor of some of the other stuff that we have. Family law. So how can I get my family law case heard more quickly? I can't afford to go through a long court process. So our family law content is on our sister site, Dial Law, which is under the People's Law School domain and covers areas of law that the People's Law School site doesn't necessarily cover, and at a bit of a different level. It's not as specific, but it still provides a good primer on information on how it all works. So when it comes to family law, there's lots of good pages in here on the changes to the Divorce Act, introductions to how it works, separation agreements, deciding who'll move out, requirements for divorce, et cetera, et cetera. And you don't have to go specifically to the Dial Law site in order to find this on our People's Law website. So I'll quickly just show that the search feature that we have. If I were to type in family law, it'll take you directly to the Dial Law site. So you don't have to worry that you won't be able to find it just because you're on People's Law School. Finally, scenario number 6, a mechanic overcharged me by $2,500. They did work I didn't ask for. How do I get my money back? We have a lot of questions that come in about used cars, used car sales from dealers, used car sales from private purchases, and how their rights work. And what we've developed over the last few years is more template letters, because what we found is a way for people to get a resolution, or they're always asking us, like, how can I tell them to give me my money back without necessarily going to court and dealing with that whole process? And we often advise people to just write them a strongly worded letter, but then the next question is inevitably, well, how do I start and what do I do? So we have letter builders where, for example, specific to the scenario that I put up, a letter to complain about poor garage servicing, you put in the date, you put in car still broken, they overcharged me. Job. Just throwing in examples here. But the beauty of this is it's another resource that you could send folks to that you can either walk them through it together if they're currently connected to the internet, or you could send them the URL and then they could write it up themselves. Because putting together these letters does not take very long. At the end of this, it generates the letter which you can download, so you don't necessarily have to put in your email address or feel like there's weird privacy concerns, like or put you on a mailing list or something like that. But it's a very effective way that we found to help people deal with an everyday legal problem, especially when communication can be so tricky with service providers that have not necessarily done you the right way. All right, a seventh scenario. I would like to invite somebody to throw something into the Q&A, a scenario that maybe they've dealt with recently at a clinic where they couldn't necessarily find information quickly or didn't know what to say. I volunteered for Access Pro Bono clinics before. We were mentioning earlier at the beginning of the poll, I think the second most popular answer was people come with a different question or a question that doesn't have to do with that specific clinic that they signed up for. That happened to me many, many times. And I know that telling the client that only gets them more frustrated because they think, okay, well, now I have to go back through someone else to put me into another clinic. So for me, if I knew that People's Law School was around and they were asking a question that was entirely outside of my domain, like wills, for example, it would have been a really effective way for me to at least say, like, here's the beginning of the way they answer the problem, but you can also reschedule an appointment with a wills lawyer at the clinic by talking to X, Y, or Z. So if anyone else has been in that situation recently, or if you have a specific question that you think People's Law School might have been able to answer or help out with for a client recently, please feel free to pop it into the Q&A and we can go through it.
I see Craig Stewart put a question in the chat. My stepson wants to kick me out of the condo I share with his mother. The stepson and I are joint tenants. Can he do that?
Good question. Okay, I will share my screen. First thing you might be thinking is, okay, well, let's look for stuff on Home and Neighbors. You know, this is if somebody's just like crawling through this way. Is it renting or co-ops? Is it a playbook for tenants? You might find stuff in here. You might just want to put the question into the search bar. Joint tenants might be a good way to do it. But this goes specifically to stuff about a will. Sharing a condo. Not necessarily. So unfortunately, Craig, it is a very tricky question. One that might require legal advice. We have another one. I often get questions about defamation. I think my ex-employer is defaming me. Are any resources on defamation? The answer is
Tons.
yes. We recently beefed up this section. We used to only have one page on it, but now we have a bunch of stuff. So if somebody hurts your reputation, if you've been accused of it, freedom of expression on the internet, what can or can I not say in an online review is often a question that we get from the public. Background checks and privacy rights are a little bit less on point, but there are 3 pages on defamation and they're categorized based on common issues and take different perspectives. If someone hurt you, what can you do? And if you've been accused of it, what can you do? And defamation is tricky. I mean, it's a very nuanced topic, as many of us must know. So it's hard for us to be definitive on this is defamation versus this isn't defamation, which is a question we might get at our Q&A service or from the public otherwise. But these pages are helpful. I mean, it gives people, it lets people know what it is, and just this working out the problem section, I always find is something that it breaks it down into manageable chunks. You know, you're not going to solve the defamation problem overnight, but you can get through maybe steps 1, 2, and 3 within a week if you feel like you now are empowered with the information to do that. At this point, Patricia, I think I'm going to send it back over to you.
Thanks,
to talk
Dave.
about how we can help you.
Yeah.
Section.
Yeah. So thanks, David. So now you've seen, folks, some of the actual users we've helped. And by the way, they are representative of the thousands of British Columbians who over the years have completed our satisfaction surveys and commented on the specific ways we have helped them. And you've also seen in this presentation some of the scenarios. You've run through some of the scenarios to show you how we've helped people with their law-related questions or problems. So now you have a better idea of who we are and what we do. And we'd like you to consider how you can use our resources. And we have on this slide a few suggestions, and maybe you can think of more. A couple of these suggestions are how how our resources can help you in your practice, and how the resources can help better serve your clients. So we'd like you to consider these, and there's a flip slide to this, and it's the next slide. And this is how you can help us. And this is our ask slide. And it basically boils down to, please use our resources. And what you've seen today, we've focused on one of our websites, peopleslawschool.ca. We also have dialalaw.ca. You saw that briefly. We have a third one. It's called unbundlinglaw.ca. Essentially, this is a website, Unbundling Law, a website for potential clients who can afford to pay a task. Some of you, for a lawyer to do, some of you may offer services on an unbundled basis, a limited scope basis. I think your every one legal clinic is of that nature. So consider how you might use our resources for folks who are seeing you at the Everyone Legal Clinic. We also have print resources, and they're free. Booklets and infographics, and they're available from Crown Publications, and we are listed on their catalog. Everything is free. You can order them in as much quantity as you'd like. You can keep them at your office. You can distribute them. The public can order them too, free of charge. David has referenced our next resource or service. Actually, it's our email one-on-one question and answer. And then finally, for those who prefer to use the phone to get information, we have the Dial a Law telephone number that provides information. It's related orally through the phone to the person who calls. So that's our ask, how you can help us. So we're in the home stretch now, David, and we're at our questions, comments, and you also see on the slide the funders. These are the organizations that help us do all that we do. And they are the Law Foundation, they're the Department of Justice Canada, the Notary Foundation, and a very generous bequest we received a couple of years ago from the estate of Bernice DeWitt. So I think that's all she wrote, folks. And we invite your questions, your comments.
Great, thanks, Patricia. We do have a couple questions in here. Okay, Sarah Abbott asks, can we use your resources, for example, if we are holding a talk in our community, any copyright issues to be aware of?
Let me take that. Please use our resources. Our only ask is that give us credit. That's all. You can use them. You can adapt them. We have a particular license that allows anyone to use, adapt however they want our resources, as long as you recognize us, you give us the a credit somewhere in your presentation or however you use them.
If a lawyer wanted to volunteer with you or get on the Unbundled Lawyer Directory, how would we go about that?
Well, David, can you take us to the place in our website where we cover that?
Of course. I know offhand exactly where everything is on the website.
It's under About.
I believe it is under About, you're right.
And we welcome volunteers. As David said earlier, we rely on practicing lawyers who are subject matter experts in areas where we do not have the subject matter expertise. And we create our content before it gets put up on the website, but we send it out. We send it out to well, in any one year, there are about 50 lawyers across British Columbia who say, and we ask them basically, hey, did we get this right? You know, are we way off base? Is this up to date? And generally, we're not too far off base. So that's one way that lawyer volunteers can help us.
And as far as getting on the Unbundled Lawyer Directory? I
would inquire of Caroline Nevin, who is the Executive Director of Courthouse Libraries. We have the roster on our website, but we have embedded that roster. We pull from, I believe it is the Courthouse Libraries roster of unbundled lawyers that they maintain. It would be great to get more a listing, one place where we could see all British Columbia lawyers who offer unbundled services, not only in the family law area, but in other other practice areas. What you see on our unbundling law site and what you will see on the courthouse that pulls from the courthouse library site is restricted, I think, to primarily family law lawyers.
Patricia and David, thanks again for an excellent resource and an excellent presentation. And congratulations again on your very well-deserved award as of last night.
We're happy. We're happy campers. No one ever gives us any awards, and this is the first, and we're just bouncing off the walls. But thank you.
That's so great. That's so great. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Thanks all.
Thanks, Erin.
Thanks, everybody.